Hello, welcome back to another podcast episode of the Transfer Portal CFB presented by NoContextCFB. We've got some stuff to talk about in late February. How can we make college football better? We'll also talk about a little spring game preview, highlight some players, but I'm Liam Blutman, and we've got some other great co-hosts with me today. I'll let them introduce themselves. We'll start with you, Doug.
This is Doug here, national champion Georgia Bulldog right here.
That's just rude. You don't have to flex on us like that.
How are Dave and I supposed to follow that? Like, how
I'm far from that.
You can't. That's literally why I said what I said.
Yeah.
I'll go. I'm Kensey. I'm the resident painful Nebraska fan and Scott Frost enthusiast.
I'm Dave. I'm I guess fifth place Penn State fan. Not a James Franklin guy at all. I'd rather have Scott Frost, honestly.
Your James Franklin hate gets me every time.
Well, it's I could go on and on about that guy.
It's valid. I know that.
Yeah. 1-7 against top 10 teams. Not going to cut it, man.
Squidward gave us that fun fact. Follow our Instagram. Make sure to do that at TPortalCFB. I'm the UCLA fan, so I'm a very proud Holiday Bowl dropout. Not to flex on Doug or anything, but I think that weighs a lot more than winning a national championship. He'll do that every year, man. Let's just dive right into it with how can we make college football better? We asked this on our Twitter account the other day. First thing you would do to make it better. A few comments were about changing the overtime format. We got to start with Dave. We got to start with the Penn State fan. The Penn State-Illinois abysmal overtime game. Please talk to us about overtime.
It was hard.
Yeah, that game got to the point where I was texting my buddy. I was like, I don't care if we win or lose. I just want it to end because I can't watch it anymore. The 2-point conversion is, I don't know why they thought it was a good idea, because you take away that 77-70 LSU Texas A&M absolute incredible shootout from us, and you make me watch Sean Clifford try to throw fades 6 times. It kind of takes away from how awesome the college overtime was, because even in the Alabama-Auburn game, that was a great game. Auburn shouldn't have had a chance to win that game. And then you go in the 2-point conversion, and you either get a fluky touchdown or the better team's going to win. It takes away from how the entire game is played, and it becomes like you could win on a fluke, essentially. It's like a shootout in hockey. It's not how a game should end.
Wasn't it a player safety concern?
It was, because there were so many plays in that 7 overtime game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so rare for it to happen that concern is bunk. It happens like once every few years. It is bunk. Let's just be honest. Those TV slots. That's really why they changed it.
Probably.
I guess. I remember that was on the day of UCLA Oregon, and Penn State Illinois was on ABC. And UCLA started on like ESPN News, and we started hot, then got on ABC, and it all fell apart. But I don't know. Just speaking to the player safety concern there, getting on the 2-yard line and putting everyone in the trenches in this close combat that doesn't show any risk. Everyone's batting heads every play. These two, come on.
I work in soccer. I've played soccer, and penalty kicks are the absolute worst way to decide any sporting contest ever, and this is just the football version of penalty kicks. It doesn't take that much. You're not outsmarting your opponent at this point, which you have to in the old overtime format. This is who can get it in from the 2-yard line in the least amount of attempts, and that's not football.
Who could execute Philly special first?
Yeah, essentially.
Which defense
full coverage?
Everybody knows it nowadays, so it's not going to work.
Everybody still runs it like the opposition doesn't know what's happening. It's the greatest play ever, because the opposition sees it for the 9,300th time and still is like,
You stay home. That's literally the whole plan.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta get hired then, Doug, because some of these coaches aren't preparing their young men for this Philly special play.
Oh no,
Well,
I'd love to be a head coach.
If you consider the Baylor-Oklahoma State Big 12 championship game, like Oklahoma State had 4 tries to get in from the half-inch line, and they couldn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just it's not good. That's just what it is.
It doesn't make sense how you actually decide to want to end the game on 2-point conversions, and just thinking of all the great overtime games that we've had that would have been decided on 2-point conversions. Like, yeah, I don't know. We'll ask you, Kensey, what's the one thing you would do to make college football better?
So I'm taking our followers in this. We had several. Like, I was shocked at the amount of people who mentioned promotion and relegation for football. Some of them didn't specify whether they wanted like Power 5 to Group of 5 pro rel, which is promotion relegation in soccer terms, or if they wanted FBS, FCS pro rel. Obviously, it's a big fat no from me. I don't think that would make it better. I don't know why you would think it would make it better. I guess this is me coming from a very strong soccer background, but if American soccer can't sustain promotion relegation, which it can't, I'll tell you guys that now, how the hell could NCAA football sustain it? Like, you're going to send Vanderbilt to the FCS and bring North Dakota State into the SEC? Like, are you going to demote Nebraska into the American? Like, there's way too many factors. Also, I just have the biggest question mark. Like, I wanted the reasoning behind people saying this pro rel type scenario would make it better. I don't know if you guys have any ideas on how it would make it better.
It doesn't
work.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense unless you did like Sun Belt and like the worst teams in the Big Ten go to the MAC and best teams in the MAC move up. It just doesn't work. Like Northern Illinois playing in the Big Ten wouldn't be a great look.
Because you got to change so many. Like if you're doing FBS and FCS, you got to change scholarships. Like you're going from FBS to FCS, you got to reduce your scholarships and you got to split them up. Versus FBS to FCS, FCS to FBS, where you got to add scholarships, you got to do transition. It's a multi-year process to even get teams to come up and go down. So pro rel just isn't feasible. Like. I get the theory behind it, but it's not ideal. It won't create the kind of fix that people are asking for.
And what's that fix? Like, what are they asking for with this? That's what I want to know.
I think the one thing people aren't realizing is how much parity there is in college football and college sports in general. Like, just go to the MAC and look at their conference championship history and participants in the MAC championship every year. It's always different. It's always ever changing. Like, is Central Michigan gonna be at the top of the MAC next year? Probably not. Regression is due. That conference is so even, everything changes. But pro rel would put Central Michigan into the Big Ten West or something. Like, well, and they're due for regression. And then like we've had Ball State was fantastic 2 years ago. Last season they were dreadful. Ball State.
Northern Illinois stunk.
UTSA.
Exactly.
Yeah, like UTSA.
Bro.
UTSA, like I forget who's on non-conference schedule next year, but I know it's tough. I know they have Texas on it. So UTSA, after losing some key players but getting a lot back, they're supposed to have Texas on the schedule with some other tough non-conference opponents, and then run one of the better conferences. Like, it doesn't make sense. And then in 2 years UTSA would just be back. Like, what is the point of any of it?
Right.
Even from like a recruiting standpoint, how would you sell that to recruits? Like, if you're a Vanderbilt coach, like, how would you sell, like, hey, by the way, we might get relegated to the FCS and now you have these with the transfer portal? Like, it's just no.
We're playing in the non-scholarship. Yeah, we're playing in the non-scholarship Pioneer Conference next season, but if we go 7-5, we might be able to get into the MAC, might be able to get into the Sun Belt. That could really boost your draft platform. Like it just makes zero sense. I don't understand. It's such a weird topic to even talk about with college sports. Like I don't know. Is like Oregon State gonna start seeking after 5-star recruits because they're sticking in the Pac-12 and they're like decent enough to just stay in here? Y'all should just come up to Corvallis and we're gonna be a dang powerhouse with 5 stars. Like I just don't understand any of this. It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't, man.
What you
Glad
got?
we all agree there. Mine is actually pretty simple. I'm just taking in terms of like teams right now with the upcoming future conferences. If you have more than 12 teams in your conference, dead divisions, play three protected teams each and every year, play 5. I'm a favorite 8-game schedule because I'm a big proponent of out-of-conference games. And for example, you have the ACC, SEC, you have 4 teams each that deal with a counter rival in a different conference. So they play already 9 Power 5 teams. And then you have 3 slots. You can still have your cupcake week the day before rivalry week. And then you have 2 open slots. So play your 3 protected, rotate 5 every year. Doesn't have to be the same 5. And go from there. So that way you can get a home and away. Just makes it easier that way. It opens up scheduling a bit. Instead of, for example, the SEC, they have 6 SEC teams in the East. They have a protected rival, and then they rotate 1 SEC team in an opposite division. And you go through, like, Georgia didn't play A&M up until 2019, and A&M was in the conference since 2012. Like, that's just not – it's not acceptable. You don't need to play Vanderbilt every year. I mean, I'd love to. It's an easy win. But you don't need to play Vanderbilt every year. Just like
Vanderbilt's taking so many strays right now.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Sorry, Anderson Cooper. But yeah, no, you don't need to play Vanderbilt every year. Just rotate the teams. It's just easier that way. You have the top 2 best teams in the conference make the conference championship game. And luckily, if they haven't faced each other, then they'll be fine. But then sometimes you get in a situation like, for example, Oklahoma TCU in 2014, the first year of the – actually, not the first year. It was 2017 because it was the Kenny Hill was at TCU. So it was 2017, and TCU lost 2 games to Oklahoma, and that knocked him out of a New Year's 6. So you will get situations like that, but at the end of the day, it's just easier for everybody to play each other a lot more frequently if you just do protect 3, rotate 5.
Doug, I have a question with that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the proposed pod scenario that the SEC is talking about with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas?
I don't like pods. Like, for me, because you're stuck with playing – because with the protected 3, there's just a lot more leeway versus pods where you have an assigned group that you're going to play. So with protected 3, you can chop up the schedule as much each and every year. So that way you don't necessarily have to be tied up with, I'm playing in a pod with, I don't know, Oklahoma, Texas A&M. You could spread those out like each and every year. And that way also helps our ticket sales too, because some years you might get a crap draw. Like, I know ever since Auburn switched the schedules with their dates on how they do the Deep South's oldest, like our biggest home game, like most of our big home games aren't at home. I mean, like we have Florida neutral, but the Auburn game, I think, got on the same length as it's another game I forgot. I think it's Auburn and Tech are on the same length. So usually Tennessee is the only big home game that we have. So it's just not really acceptable. So pods, not a fan. Just do the rotation, 3 protected, rotate everything else. A lot more freedom. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I like it. I like the logic. I like actually putting logic into the sport instead of throwing stuff at the board and hoping it sticks like they do much of the time. I don't know what you think about that, Dave.
Yeah, because I think that it makes perfect sense because no matter what, the best teams are going to play the best teams. and then you kind of, like Doug said, you get rid of a Georgia Vanderbilt game, you get rid of an Ohio State Maryland game. They don't have to, you don't have to watch it every year. I mean, it's an easy win for the better team, but I'm sure if you're the lesser team in that situation, you're like, okay, they're not in our schedule this year. That's okay with me. And if it's done right, I think it could really work, and it fixes the Big 12 for sure.
Mm-hmm. I'm only halfway serious when I say this, but since we referenced it earlier with overtime, Ohio State playing Maryland, Bama playing Vanderbilt, blah, 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 et cetera, injury risk. What's the point, right? Get rid of that game. Only halfway serious. But,
I mean, like the last big Ohio State Maryland game, Urban Meyer literally almost died on the field with a heart attack.
Yeah.
Remember, he was on the sides, like
bent over.
Yeah, no, he was sweating.
And with your proposed rule, that doesn't happen because he's sweating it out against an actual good team. I don't know.
No, it's Ohio State. They always have one weird stinker.
Always.
Nowadays. Yeah,
yeah.
Purdue, Iowa. Last year wasn't really a stinker for them. It was Oregon just beat them, I think.
They struggled against Nebraska for 3 quarters. Which I was like freaking out about. But
also struggled against Tulsa too.
They did struggle.
That was weird. That one was really weird.
Because Tulsa's really not good.
No,
they were not. They really weren't.
Always good for one of those games, though.
Yeah, that is always fun. I just can't believe Ohio State really gave up that many. That they just let up so many runs to the left against Oregon. It was embarrassing, and then Michigan used the same game plan.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Dave, what's your proposed rule? Or not?
What I would do to change is that I'm gonna stay away from expanding the playoff because a lot of people want that. What I think is that get rid of the playoff committee, no more committee, go back to the good old BCS computers, no bias. No, but the SEC should talk about conferences. Just stick to the numbers. I think you have 4 teams. I want blowouts back. I like when teams beat lesser teams 70-10. I think it's fun. It's good for football. And you just bring back the numbers, and then you get the 4 best teams. I feel like that's just better than the committee, in my opinion, because the committee they have this love for Oklahoma always, and sometimes
it's
they put
so weird.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's the Big 12 not being good up until this year.
Yeah, that's true. But they did
screw over Oklahoma this year, and their reasoning that they put out. They were like they haven't had a quality win, but they were 9-0 at that point.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
also, what are you giving reasons for? Just shut up. These are the rankings. You don't need to give reasonings for why you put each team where.
So I will say this, for something that's pretty egregious, they kind of do need to. I mean, it's also a production. So you kind of have to give reasoning. You have to give them a little drop. But back to Dave's point about the committee. So what's funny? There's a website whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. So they do a simulated BCS poll. Using the same formula, but instead of one of the rankings that I think they use, I forgot what it is. I think they use AP because AP wasn't part of the formula. But they do a simulation, and it turns out the Final Four each year is the same as the committee. Although how the committee gets there is way out of left field.
Yeah, it's
but in the end, the committee usually gets it right. And to be honest, there really hasn't been a gripe. I mean, there's been a gripe of teams on a run up, but in terms of actually being the Final Four, can you guys name a single gripe throughout this whole entire time?
Didn't TCU get screwed out of it the first year?
It was a weird thing with TCU, Ohio State, and Baylor. TCU lost to Baylor, so that should have really knocked them out by sheer head to head. But I know committee doesn't necessarily do that. And then Ohio State had that extra game where they just blew out Wisconsin, which gave them the edge over. So that's usually, that's how that came to be.
But, and then that 1 year when Penn State won the Big Ten, they had 2 losses, but they were like playing. I think they had won 6 or 7 in a row. That's another one where you could have put them in, but they had 2 losses. They had that bad loss to Pitt early, but that's another one.
Mine is the Ohio State one of 2020, where the Big Ten played that shortened crap season, and the Big Ten gave them that rule, that pass on the rule that they had established for the COVID year, and was like, hey, you're going to the Big Ten championship game anyways, so they could get a team in the playoff. Like, I didn't think Ohio State deserved to be in the playoff that year. And then they got trounced. So
it's a weird technicality because at least with the COVID seasons, I'm just ignoring everything off rip because that wasn't really supposed to happen. There's some outside pressures from certain football schools that aren't really good, and Ohio State that really wanted the season to happen, and it ended up happening. But yeah, I'm ignoring COVID. But your Penn State, like if Penn State only lost to either Michigan or Pitt, they would have been in. But yeah, it's a 2-loss versus 1 loss. It's kind of losses. At least the number of losses matter unless you end up like beating, like in 2017 where Auburn was like the number. I think they were second in the nation, had the SEC title game, and they had 2 losses because they beat number 1 teams in like back-to-back weeks. Like it had to be something miraculous like that. Yeah, but usually 2 losses won't get in unless everybody loses like once. So
if Georgia would beat Alabama in the SEC playoff?
Oh, in 2017? No. So
no, this year.
Oh, this year. No, Alabama would be Georgia. Yeah, Alabama would be Georgia, but Georgia was number 1, and the main gripe was Georgia versus. Oh no, Baylor had 2 losses.
But if Georgia had beat Bama, would Bama have still gotten in with their 2 losses?
No.
I don't think they would have gotten in over Baylor.
They would have put Notre Dame in.
Oh, yeah, Notre Dame.
Yeah,
Notre Dame's always creeping around. I hate them. That's something else. They're just just the worst. Everyone's fans of them because they're just Irish. It's a whole thing with them there. But yeah, Notre Dame would have gotten in. But had Oklahoma State scored from like the inch line, they would have gotten in.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that was a crazy weekend. Yeah.
So, question, just because we're talking about Notre Dame, you think they're going to join the conference like full time ever?
No, that's why they annoy me, because they have that deal with NBC and they get their games, every single game televised. Like I have to watch one of my best friends, his dad like went to Notre Dame, he's a huge fan. Every time I'm at his house, he's just watching like they played Virginia that one year and they almost lost, and like it's just Notre Dame Virginia shouldn't be on my TV. Like it shouldn't be nationally televised, I don't think. But they're getting money for it, so there's no reason for them to leave.
Hey, as a person that lives in Virginia, like don't do this.
Notre Dame Virginia has provided great memes too, so I got they have to be on national TV. Some very good memes from their games.
That's true.
And that's what's most important.
I know the Leprechaun actually.
Like you know, like
I was friends with them in high school. They have like 5 leprechauns, and one of them I went to high school with.
I liked that 3-second pause where we were all like, how do we address this?
Yeah, he's a good dude. I don't like Notre Dame. I'm sorry, Pat.
Nah, it's totally fine.
Of course. The Notre Dame Leprechaun is a known good dude.
1 of 5, I think.
Dave can confirm.
Yeah.
I don't like that they're in the ACC for everything else.
And then that one in the COVID year,
they put them in the
ACC.
Yeah, but in basketball every year they're in the ACC. Like they're in the ACC for every other sport they play.
It's a weird fit that works for every other sport but football.
Yeah.
I think I'm cool with them being independent. Like I don't really care. I think multiple independence in a sport is cool. The scheduling flexibility is pretty cool.
Agreed.
I don't know. I kind of like it. I like the uniqueness and just being different. I like that. I think just speaking back to Dave's point though, my thing, the BCS like probably was ahead of its time. We now live in 2022, and I gotta say, a lot of nerds out there, a lot of analytical numbers, that's all the rage now, And the BCS would have been a big hit if that was introduced in the last few years. Nobody would have ever had anything to complain about. But my problem isn't like the teams that get into the Final Four, really. It's just about the entire process of watching this garbage committee show week after week. It's the worst reality TV show that we were able to watch. Like, it's so bad. And they talk about it for an hour or whatever, and they never make any good points. And then the points that they make for why teams are ranked where are just terrible. They factor in things for some teams and then don't factor it in for others. They select. It's super selective. It's super lame. Not a fan of them, Gus. That's all.
No, let it all out, brother. Let it all out. Just tell us more. Tell us how you really feel.
Liam wants to set fire to the committee.
Look here. I'll get into my point right now. What are y'all doing on September 13th, 2031? It's weird that you guys don't know because I have tickets to the Rutgers Kansas State game. I thought y'all might want to go, but I guess not.
So,
what is the point of this? Scheduling games 15 years in advance is the lamest thing. What are Rutgers and what are Rutgers and Kansas State going to be in 2031? We're 9 years till that. We don't. Rutgers could be a really good team. Kansas could be bottom of the barrel. They could be like Kansas for all I know. Manhattan could end up being Lawrence. But what if Rutgers is a top 25 preseason team and Kansas State's bottom of the barrel trash? Like, would Rutgers really want that game? No, they wouldn't. My one exception to this. Okay, well, look, that's true. But my one exception to this is that
are they doing a home and home?
Yeah, they are. They're doing a home and home.
We'll circle back to that.
What an obscure matchup!
I know, look.
Anyways,
the one exception I have is you could schedule a non-conference rivalry in 2036 for all I care. Georgia Tech. Whatever it be, keep that rivalry. That's the good stuff. We like that. But why do we have Louisiana Tech and San Diego State? Why do they have a game planned in San Diego for 2034? Why is that a thing? Are people looking forward to that, counting down the days till Louisiana Tech finally goes to California? Like, this stuff is so lame. UCLA and Wisconsin have a home and home in 2029-30. Like, who knows how either team's going to be? I want teams to be able to schedule, not essentially like college basketball, but not to the point of that. Like, I think scheduling a game, say, why am I choosing Northwestern? Say Northwestern has a great season, and they're coming in top 15, and they've got this garbage schedule in 2043 that has them paired up with, like, Ball State, Eastern Michigan, and Troy. This is a top 15 team. They should be going out there being aggressive the summer before the season, or the summer or winter or spring, seasons of the season. And they should be out there trying to schedule good teams like Oregon, like Stanford, like Oklahoma State, whatever. Find an enticing matchup that the fans could actually get hyped about for the few months or a year or two before the game actually happens. Like, Alabama, their future schedule stuff's so lame. Like, when is Nick Saban going to stop coaching, right? They have a game schedule against Virginia Tech in 2035. Nick Saban's going to be 83 years old. You think Nick Saban's coaching that game, 83-year-old Saban? No. Is Alabama going to be okay, maybe he will be. You're right. Maybe he will be.
It could be more.
When Saban's gone, when Saban's not coaching anymore, is Alabama going to be the same elite powerhouse? We don't know that. That's up for debate. It's uncertain. Like a lot of college football, it's uncertain. But why are you scheduling a game for 2035 against a team that you can't even project their outlook, and you can't project your own outlook when you don't know who your head coach is going to be by then? It's just so lame to me. Like, I don't know what you are on this.
Michigan just came off. Oh, sorry, Dave.
No, my bad. I just said the kids that be playing in that game are 7 years old right now.
Yeah, that's another fair point. Like,
sure,
there's kids doing their spelling bee in second grade, spelling, I don't know, about wrong, and these are the guys that are going to be playing in I don't know. Like, I wrote down more matchups. I can't even think of them. There's just so many bad ones. Like, I don't know.
So I know, like, I would say limit it to a recruiting cycle. So You can schedule up to 4. Yeah, I could schedule up to 4 years in advance. So that way 1 year's done, schedule the next year. Because that way it lines up in case you need to make a trip. The only exception is I might do a home and home, like a little bit earlier. But yeah, just leave it open 4 years, 5 years max. Because they'll be recruiting them 8th graders, even though I think it's wrong. But yeah,
I respect that.
Michigan just came off arguably their best season in the last 20 years. Their non-conference schedule for this year is Colorado State, Hawaii, and Connecticut.
Harbaugh trying to keep his job.
I don't know how far in advance those were made, but the reigning Big Ten champion is playing who?
So
I'm speechless. That's why I am.
So the only defense I might have of this, and I've done zero research here, is that sometimes when a team decides to cancel out of a home and home or they buy out a return game, you have a scheduling gap, and ergo, you fill that gap. But although I know, didn't UConn and Michigan play in UConn 2013, I think? It was some of these. One of these big schools always makes weird trips. I remember Texas went to Wyoming once. It's weird, but some of these big schools end up making those trips.
Oh, speaking of Wyoming, Cal is going at Wyoming in 2029. They've also got Minnesota in 2029. So if Cal's a top 10 preseason team in 2029, you might be losing at Wyoming, and we'll come back and clip this in 7 years.
Surprised you didn't say Minnesota. Otherwise, Wilson wouldn't get mad at you.
I'm not trying to get any beef from Andrew Wilson. We don't need beef from Mr. Gopher Alls himself. I just don't get. I think the 4-year period is fine. I think that is fine. But it's also when you have a sport where teams pop up and succeed so much, as we talked about earlier, and then just fall off the next year. I don't know. Scheduling with uncertainty this is so weird to me. There was something I wanted to comment about, and I forgot what I was gonna say. Dang, y'all got anything else to say about this?
It doesn't make sense, and I'm trying to. What's the point? Is it ticket sales? Is it what is the actual point of it? Why are these teams doing it?
To try and generate hype 13 years in advance, I guess. Get ahead on the social media game. Secure opponents. I guess securing opponents makes sense, but also, again, we don't know if Georgia is going to be the same dominant powerhouse. I'm so sorry for saying Georgia. Penn State, we don't know. Nebraska, maybe they're a powerhouse. We have no clue in 2035.
We know that answer.
Okay.
Hey, whoa.
Whoa, no, I praised you guys this week on my article, but after that, I'm not going to praise you anymore.
That's it. It stops there.
Well, like you said with Georgia Tech, or Nebraska, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Oklahoma is going to sell out whether it's in Norman, in Lincoln, no matter what year you put it in. I get those games, but Rutgers, K-State, that just makes me laugh.
I know UCLA has a bunch of non-conference stuff scheduled way in advance that they got done years ago. We have home and homes with LSU and Georgia and Auburn and Wisconsin and Michigan. We're probably gonna get killed. But this year, who do we play non-conference? South Alabama, Bowling Green, and Alabama State. I'm cool with the Alabama State thing. It breaks our history of never playing an FCS school, but that's HBCU respect and recognition, so I'm cool with that. And I hope that more teams play on the road against HBCU teams in the future. I like what the Pac-12 is doing there, but why is this UCLA team playing Bowling Green in South Alabama this year? How did that happen with this awful pre-scheduling?
So here's the thing. Y'all lost to Fresno State last year. So
that's common. That's common. They are big brother. Big brothers beat up on the little brother. That's just normal.
I'm just saying. Don't speak ill will when you've lost to some
I'm not
G5 teams.
Will. Speaking of Will on Andrew Wilson, I guess I will pick some beef with Mr. Gopheralls. He had to go see them lose in person against Bowling Green.
I saw that too with Maryland. So, no.
Oh, so I'm next.
Yes.
I'm next.
Yes. We've all suffered.
Penn State? App State took Penn State to overtime.
Oh yeah.
I remember that game. Yeah,
a couple years ago.
Lost to Temple once.
Yeah, they lost to Temple. They did.
Nebraska also lost to Illinois a couple years back.
Yeah, they're always good for a couple wins, these teams. Like, I'm convinced Penn State's going to lose to Central Michigan at home this year. I already know it's going to happen. I think Lou Nichols is going to
since he got kind of lucky with how their schedule was set up this year, where they came in preseason top 10, lot of recognition on that team, and then they had Indiana, who they lucked into because Indiana, like we said, a really good season in 2020. Mm-hmm. We called it what it was. We called them out for it, and then they regressed in 2021. And that's the stuff we're talking about. Is that regression happens so much?
We both called it, Liam.
I would see where a team like Cincy that's trying to build their program, have a good season, make a playoff as a Group 5 team, they could go out there and schedule a team that they think is pretty fake and had a overachieving season the year before, get a quality win. It looks good for them. And then they of course had the Notre Dame game too. But I don't know. That's the stuff I would like to see scheduled the summer before or something, the year before. And I've spoke a lot on this, so I'll stop talking.
We got Liam fired up in the chat today.
There you
It's
go.
February 22nd. It's college football season. So we might as well talk about spring season. Look at players that could benefit greatly from the spring. We could start with you, Doug. Who you got your eye on?
The Nebraska quarterback battle. So we have Casey Thompson, the person that is transferred over from Texas. He was the incumbent there up until Quinn Ewers decided to come home because he ran from the grind. That's beside the point anyway. But Casey Thompson should be the favorite. They got Mark Whipple, legendary offensive coordinator for Pitt, turned them from arguably one of the worst offenses I've ever seen to one of the best offenses I've ever seen. Pitt is amazing. Whipple's a QB guru. Casey should be the starter. If it's not him, it might be Logan Smothers or Chuba Purdy. It really should be Casey. Casey's actually talented. He's a pretty good quarterback. He just got ran off. But that's a pretty big battle I'm looking forward to. And the way Nebraska's schedule is set up, I can see them being 8-4. So if whoever the quarterback is by end of spring ball or at worst start of fall practice, they can lead the Cornhuskers to saving Scott Frost's job for at least 1 year.
That's all we can hope for, man.
I don't know. I don't know what else to say on that. I guess I expect Casey to win for sure. And we'll see what they do after losing their top 2 receiving targets, but I might comment on that in a few minutes. We'll go with you, Kensey. Who are you looking at in the spring?
I avoided talking about Nebraska because obviously I'm invested in theirs. Nebraska just needs snaps, so I'll leave it at that. They just need to get better. I'm really curious in 1, Cincinnati, and 2, Texas. I'm really curious in Ewers getting the snaps, getting the reps. Like Doug alluded to, he may have ran from the grind. Well, he hasn't been in the QB1 position yet. He could fail. He hasn't been at Texas very long. He needs the snaps. He needs that QB1 snaps. I'm also intrigued by Cincinnati. I was doing some looking at Nebraska has a higher recruiting class this year than Cincinnati. I know we touched on it last week. Can Cincinnati reload? So I'm curious, what they will do this spring with their new recruits that came in early in the snaps in regen for maybe the same, maybe less for next year.
They have a lot of production to replace over at Cincy. I'll tell you what. What about you, Dave?
Well, I mean, I know Quinn Ewers just brought up twice now. I was gonna talk. It's his job to lose. I think that's kind of what everybody is looking forward to, how he performs in spring ball and what he does, because it really is his job to lose. I think that he went to Ohio State for the money, and then he was kind of like, "Oh, it's cold here," and saw how good CJ Stroud was, or how good CJ Stroud can be, and went home, which is nothing wrong with that. But I'm excited to see how he plays in spring ball. And I think he will get the job. And then now I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to talk about Penn State and our young guys. I'm super duper interested in seeing how they're going to tiptoe around Sean Clifford being the starting quarterback, because he has time and time failed in big spots. He will play well, but then he gets hurt. And once he's hurt, he's in his head and he can't make plays. Either if a defender breathes on him, he runs away, throws the ball out. So Drew Allerson, Drew Aller's the white whale. He could be our savior. The last time Penn State had a 5-star was Hackenberg. Hackenberg was serviceable. He wasn't great. I don't want another Hackenberg. Drew Aller, I think, needs to get the reps in spring ball. I think you need to challenge Clifford and not just be like, "Oh, Sean, it's your job," which Franklin will do. I don't think Franklin will put pressure on him. I think he's gonna try to tell Clifford, "Don't worry about it." But if he does flounder, you have to have Aller ready. And I think he will be. And then I don't know how Franklin pulled this off, but he also got the number 1 running back recruit in Nick Singleton. And losing Noah Cain to LSU hurts. I love Noah Cain, but he didn't get enough snaps, so I see why he left. We lost John Lovett. He graduated. So now it's Kayvon Lee, who's an established guy. He's a good runner. He can make plays when he gets a dump off. But it's going to be down to the freshmen. I'm excited, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. I think that these guys are going to have to perform well in spring ball, and I think they can. And if they play well, they could be the next two-headed monster.
Mm-hmm. I think I speak for all of us when I say that we also hope that we don't have to watch Sean Clifford at quarterback for Penn State again. Please give us a different brand of football. What do you mean, no?
You like him, Doug?
No, I don't like him. It's just that Maryland plays Penn State.
Oh, good point. All right, fair.
Yeah, no. I just need my alma mater to do decent against them, not necessarily win, but
yeah,
as long as Sean Clifford's there, they have a shot.
Yep. It's the way it's going to be for the rest of the year. There's a reason a 24-year-old's still playing college ball, and it's because he's not a good quarterback. So that's how it goes.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah, gotta call it as I see it, man. I've been watching him for so long, and I'm just fed up with him.
Dude, Dave is coming out with hooks left and right on anything in his path tonight.
Yeah.
Look, if Sean is listening to this, or anybody that knows Sean, just let Sean know he's got an open invite to interview with our one and only Mr. Dave.
I'll talk
to Sean. Talk it out. Yeah, I mean, that could be a great conversation. Why not invite Dave to a game, sideline passes, let him get the full Sean Clifford experience? I think we should pursue that for sure.
We go to P-Man together, maybe have a couple beers if he wants. Who knows? We'll get champs.
He's old enough.
I think we can become good friends if I get to know him.
All right. For my player to look for in spring ball, I don't know how Doug and I pulled this off, but we both went with Nebraska Cornhuskers. I don't know how that happened. Look, Nebraska, as I mentioned, they're losing their top 2 leading receivers in Samari Toure and the 6'8" tight end Austin Allen. You got to find some production at receiver. There's going to be a lot of competition in the receiving corps. What about the coldest Crawford? What about the incoming freshman, 6'2", 190? I'm looking for the coldest to, make a statement, show that he's worthy of getting a lot of touches early on, getting playing time as a freshman. What better way to ignite this Nebraska revolution than with the coldest to ever do it? The coldest to ever do it, Crawford, making a big play in Dublin, Ireland against Northwestern to open the year. What better way, right? That'll electrify every single Cornhusker. He's got great hands, good tracking ability, and he's very good speed. He's got that track and field background. He's a legit playmaker that's going to need to get the ball in his hands. So get the coldest, the dang ball.
So, question, totally somewhat related, but not completely related. What are your thoughts on out-of-country games?
I think that I'm cool with it. I kind of hate how random they are. Like, I feel like a conference game in another country is just bad. It shouldn't be a conference game, I believe. Well, it was supposed to be Navy Notre Dame in Dublin a few years in 2020, right? That was the matchup, and it got, COVID. I think that was
they did that before too. So
Notre Dame going there makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
Nebraska was also supposed to play Northwestern last year in Ireland or somewhere, or Illinois. They were supposed to play Illinois in Ireland.
Oh,
they also.
That's why we played them for 0.
And then Stanford was playing in Sydney
in Australia against Rice.
Yeah,
the most random matchup to give Sydney, Australia fans to show them this is college football. Like that's a bizarre one.
I don't personally like it, and I definitely agree with the conference game. Like that is a huge game for Nebraska, especially Nebraska. Like you want that game where the fans can travel to well because Nebraska travels well. Like you're just gonna send it across the Atlantic, like woohoo.
It's weird for me because it's just like for NFL it works. NFL is a global game. Like college football is a lot more regional dominant. Like it doesn't. You can have some of it creep into Canada. You can have some of it creep into Mexico. But if you're crossing an entire like continents, I don't think it's gonna work really. It's just it's weird. And even then, like the games come on the same time as traditional football. Like I know I'm a Chelsea fan here, and if there's a game at 12:30 and Georgia plays at 12, next thing you know, it's boom, I got 2 screens on, and then or if it's a really exciting game, then I got the triple box. I got my phone on, so it's like it's not pretty, and I understand why college football is not really big over there. So it's I'm just not a fan of the overseas games. Like I get the concept, but.
You're telling me that you're not hyped for like Arizona State, South Carolina, in Belgium, 2063. We'll say that's when this game's happening. You're not hyped for that.
Yeah. Arizona State works because they're Sun Devils, and the Belgium are the Red Devils.
Okay, well that was just the most coincidental thing. I'm not a soccer guy. How was I supposed to know that?
That was good.
I don't know. Got me back on the scheduling garbage. Whoops. How about we end it with
Let's get Liam away from this.
one hypothetical game in the future. So that like 15 years down the road. Go as crazy as you want.
All right, let's go with I'll go with South Alabama playing Akron in a home and home. And then the third game they play in New Zealand.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, in 2047.
2047 to 2049.
Yeah.
That's good. I might already start scheduling my flights.
I'm gonna go play that NCAA right now, actually. That's a great idea.
Good man.
Like really these I don't know. I guess I already gave out ASU and South Carolina and Belgium. I don't know. Y'all got anything, Kensey or Doug?
Maybe like Coastal Carolina and UTEP playing a home and home, which would be absolutely wild. Those are 2 like pretty good venues. They play a home and home, and then like Dave in a third year go play. Honestly, putting those teams just in Canada would be funny.
Yeah, put them in like Vancouver.
Yeah.
I'll go USC versus Troy in Greece.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. That was real thought out.
They'd love Troy there.
Yeah. No. Put it in Greece, put in one of those little amphitheaters. Boom.
Whatever. I'll be able to top that. Look, we're going and we're changing it up. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. It won't be in El Paso. It'll just be at the place that has the hottest temperature. I don't know where that is. That's not in America either. The equator. Okay. Well, that was. Thanks. We'll play it on the equator. Yep, 100%. Whoever makes the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl will be there. You'll be able to go and meet Tony the Tiger himself. It'll be a great experience. And that's how you make college football fun. That's how you improve it.
Global game.
Yeah, no.
This is so easy. Why do people not hire us for this?
It's easy money.
What we should do is we should get graphics made for these hypothetical future games and just completely lie about them, but get them hyped up on Twitter and get people to think they're real.
Let's get Dylan on it.
Dylan could make a sick graphic for Troy SC in Greece.
Yeah.
People are going to believe that too. That's crazy.
People would believe it. This is bonkers. Can you guys believe this? I'd be like, wow.
And if it ever does happen, credit.
Yeah, then you called it.
Credit here first.
Yeah, you need your money for that. Yeah.
On 2/22/22, said it here first.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast episode of the Transfer Portal CFB. I'm very bad at wrapping these things up, but that's okay. Please like and subscribe, or maybe you don't want to, but we'd really appreciate if you do like or subscribe. Helps us a lot. Helps us grow, go a long way, all that stuff. And we'll catch you on the next one. If you have any questions for us, just tweet us at any of the 4 accounts shown on the screen or at tportalcfb. We'll get back to you, I swear.
I tweet every day, so
I also tweet every day.
I think all of us are
skill.
pretty excessive tweeters, so
we're professional tweeters. We'll get back to you, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you for listening. Appreciate you all. See you.
Sean Clifford, it's at fat_Dave_. Hit him up.
Yeah. We can converse.